Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been literally ages since I posted anything, but first video back is going to be investing for rookies. I had a lot of friends reach out to me asking me about how I'm going to invest my money once I start residency, especially those in med school because they don't have a lot of prior investing experience. So this video is for y'all. First off, we're going to talk about what this video is going to be about, the target audience, some investment types that I recommend, 401k, your Roth IRA, an emergency fund, and then lastly, ETFs like through Robinhood if you just want to invest a little bit more than your basic 401k and Roth IRA. So like I was saying, this video is just a resource for people that want to learn how to invest. They're in their early stages of investing. They're not sure where to start. This is just going to be a quick guide of where you should get started. Target audience, people 22, that's usually when you graduate college, anywhere up to 35. I do have some 35-year-olds in my med school class. Hopefully they know how to invest because they've graduated and they've been out of school for a long time. But if you don't, it's never too late. Client, just people that want to make money. And then location, anywhere in the world, globally. Hopefully you enjoy this video. Some of the types of accounts that we're going to go over is a 401k. This is like your basic traditional retirement account that you've probably heard your parents talk about. Oh, open up a 401k. That's what this is. A Roth IRA, that's something that you can do on top of your 401k to save some money in taxes and then also have a little bit more in your retirement piggy bank. Then an emergency fund, something that I neglected during my gap year, but I will explain why I did that. But you should have one definitely, at least like a 6-month emergency fund. And we'll go into more detail why I recommend that. And then lastly, ETFs via Robinhood. And then also if you want to buy individual stocks such as Facebook or, Nvidia, AMD, things like that. Just a little bit of play money, you could say, in terms of your investment. First things first, your 401k. Usually this account is an employer match account. So if you contribute, say, $350, your employer is going to put in a certain percentage, like usually 4 to 6%. So you have to contribute $350 and then they'll match that. And then all of that will be in your 401k retirement account. That way you're basically getting double the money if you invest 100% of the percentage that they need you to invest. And if you don't do that, you're essentially leaving free money on the table that could have been in your retirement account once you retire. So that's why I always recommend that before you do anything else, you do 100% of your 401k match. And your employer will usually tell you like, okay, I'm going to match up to 4% or I'm going to match up to 6%. And you can contact your HR department and they should be able to help you with that. So like I was saying, you contribute from your salary and they add the same amount to your retirement. Then there's two types. So there's the traditional one, which is the contributions reduce your taxable income now, and then you pay taxes later in retirement. It's good if you expect a lower rate later. Then there's the Roth 401k, which contributions are made after tax. So withdrawals in retirement are going to be tax-free. So that's good if you expect a higher tax rate later, which most of my friends that are in medicine, they will be taxed at a higher rate once they finish residency and they are attendings compared to when they are residents. Some of the reasons why I recommend, having a 401k and maxing it out is because of automatic investing. So you don't have to think much. Like you don't have to go in every single month and invest it. It's going to be deducted from your paycheck. So the money that you get every single month, you will have the peace of mind that I can spend this money and I'm not going to be like running out of money for my average expenses. You already know that, okay, my investments have been made. Now whatever paycheck I'm getting, that's money that I can spend. So you have a consistent saving habit that's already built in for you. You're going to have a dollar cost averaging going on, which basically means that you're not trying to buy into the market at a dip. You're kind of just buying a bunch at like consistent rates. So at the end of the day, your average cost is going to be lower versus if you're trying to time the market, which nobody's really good at, you're going to end up buying a lot of the highs potentially and then miss the lows. And then you're going to end up with like a higher average buying cost, which this helps you avoid that. And then lastly, you don't have to remember to invest it manually. It's already deducted from your paycheck and your company adds in a little bit of free money, which is the match. And then there's also high contribution limits. So you can contribute up to $23,000. This was in 2026. It might be different in 2027, 2028, but that's a lot of money invested every single year, and that 23,000 is going to be compounding and working for you. The Roth IRA. This is money contributed after tax, so it grows tax-free. So when you go to pull out this money in retirement, there's no taxes on the gains because they are taxing the money now. So when you pull it out, you don't have to worry about paying taxes on it, which is also why another advantage of it is your original contributions you can pull out at any time without any penalties or taxes. So if I'm contributing, say, $1,000 to my Roth IRA one year and say I need to get $1,000 to pay something off the next year, I can pull that $1,000 out and that $1,000 is not going to be taxed and there won't be any penalties on it. Versus other investment accounts, if you try to pull out the money earlier than your retirement age, there can be penalties and you might have to pay taxes. Well, taxes you usually have to pay, but there can also be additional penalties if you try to pull out that money early. Also, there's no minimum age to collect the distributions, so your money can grow as long as you want. You don't have to start pulling out your money at, say, 59 and a half. Like some accounts, you have to pull out your money at a certain age. With the Roth IRA, you don't have to do that at any time. There's also flexibility in terms of you can use the money in your Roth IRA towards your first home purchase, towards educational expenses, and then also an emergency fund. So like I was saying, if you contribute, say, $1,000 one year, and then you have $1,000 expense come up, you can pull that money out and there's no penalty. Lastly, it's ideal for young individuals or low income earners at the current moment because your taxes are low at this current moment, and then that's when you're paying your taxes. And then when you pull your money out, you don't have to pay taxes. Ideally, that's when close to retirement and you're making more money and you've kind of peaked in your career. And then the contribution limit for this year was around $7,000. The emergency fund. My recommendation is to build a 3 to 6 month of an emergency fund. And you should basically do a budget for your fixed expenses, add 10% on that, and then that's your monthly expense. So then you just multiply that times 3 or times 6. The reason why I recommend this is because you can always have emergencies come up and you might need a lump sum of cash. And if you don't have that, then you're gonna be in a pickle. And if all of your money is invested, then it can always be an issue to get that money out. How long is it gonna take that money to become liquid? AKA they're gonna give you cash for whatever you're pulling out so you can deal with your emergency expense. So it's always good to have one. During my gap year, I did not have one because I was investing aggressively. So I would put everything into investments. And there were times where I ran into a pickle and I had to reach out to friends and family and they were able to cover me. And then I was able to take out money from my investments and pay them back. But if you don't have that opportunity where you can reach out to friends or family and you're in a pickle, things might get tough. So that's why I recommend at least starting off with like a 3-month fund. So what I would do is I would max out my 401k. I would build a 3 to 6 month fund, and I would put money towards Roth IRA, like the minimum that I need to for the year to hit, say, $3,500 the first year or $7,000, whichever one you're comfortable with, knowing your expenses, and then go from there. Another thing is you can set money every month towards your emergency fund automatically, so it becomes a stress-free process. Most banks will allow you to set up an automatic transfer to another emergency account, and you don't have to worry about it. Every month it'll just transfer the money into there. Next thing is you can use a Roth IRA as one initially, so the contributions can be withdrawn penalty-free. So if you don't want to come up with an emergency fund initially, say you want to max out your investments, you could do your 100% 401k contribution. You could also set up the Roth IRA contribution of $7,000, and then as you go, once you hit the $7,000, you're like, okay, now you can build a separate emergency fund that's going to be used just for that. That way, if you're like, okay, I want my investments to grow, and then I don't have any emergencies that I'm thinking of that could potentially happen, like I have a new car, so I don't have to worry about car problems. I'm renting an apartment, I don't have to worry about homeowners expenses, things like that. You don't foresee something happening, you can go down that route, but it is risky. Lastly, you can open an online bank such as Ally. That way you don't need a minimum deposit for fees. A lot of times like Chase Bank or Wells Fargo, they require the account to have like $1,500 in there, or they want like a direct deposit to the account for you to avoid fees. A lot of these online banks don't require that, so that's always an option. But there is sometimes a delay in the amount of time for you to receive your money, so that's something to be aware of. Lastly, you can invest in ETFs through Robinhood in addition to your 401k and your Roth IRA. If you just want more of investment padding for the future, you can basically make a Robinhood account and you can pick up additional ETFs such as HLAL, SPUS, SP 500, S&P 500, or VOO. The average return on these is like 7 to 10% every single year. I did this because I felt like it was smart during my gap year to put a lot of my money towards investments, and then if I needed later on to pull that money out, I could, with the caveat of you want that money to be invested for at least 1 year, because if you don't let it invest for at least 1 year, there's higher capital gains tax. So say you invest $1,000 and it grows to $1,500 the first year, and then you're like, okay, I want to pull this money out. Now on that $1,500, you're gonna pay less if it was invested for at least 1 year versus if it was invested for 9 months and then you wanted to pull the money out. So I always recommend at least let your investments sit for 1 year, and that way you're also not like day trading and getting too ambitious, too excited, and losing money in the long run. Because a lot of times people try to time the market and no one can truly time the market. Most people end up losing money unless it's a skill that you've acquired over a long period of time. Another thing is Robinhood has a pretty good interface. You can use it on your mobile and your PC. If you know how to use Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, you can use Robinhood. It's pretty intuitive. It's not hard to learn. And if you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below in my video and I can address it. That's everything. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down below and I'll answer them.